Okay, this is 4.4a, two-step inequalities homework. And if you notice my little drawings here, that symbol would have an open circle. This symbol would have an open circle. This symbol has two steps to it, so that's 1, 2 steps, where that's a closed circle. 1, 2, 1, 2 is a closed circle. So just a way to kind of remember those. Okay, here we go. Two-step inequalities. Okay, these are very similar to how we solve basic two-step equations, except we have an inequality symbol right there. So we need to be very particular and careful about that. So let's just kind of go through our normal process. First, I like to find that equal sign, or that inequality sign. That shows me that I have two different sides of the equation. I like to circle my variable just to know which side to start on. Okay, so there are a couple little things we need to remember, though, with these inequalities. All right, let's start. Well, first we would subtract 10 on both sides of the equation. That turns that into a 0, and that turns 7 minus 10 into a -3. And I keep my inequality, and then I rewrite my n divided by 2 on this side. Then I multiply by 2 on this side, which would give me an n. And there's my inequality sign. And multiply by 2 on this side, which would give me a -6. Now the problem with this is that this answer is written kind of backwards. It will help, because we have to make a number line, to write it in the proper order. So we would go n, and I have to rewrite this negative sign. I kind of have to turn it around here like that. So I'm just kind of flipped the sign to make it look like this. And then I have to look and see, where is n? What is n on a number line? So to draw the number line, I'm going to use a -6 and a 6, because that is my my number I'm looking at. And I'm going to start with where the n, I'm going to start at where the -6 is, which is right here. And now it's a solid dot, because I have this two parts. N is greater than or equal to. And then I have to look where n is. N is greater than -6, so if it's greater than, my symbol will look like that. The n, this dot here represents the n. All right, so that would be the first one. Let's look at this one. Find my inequality sign, find my variable. I'm going to add 10 to both sides. I'm going to start with that first. That turns that into a 0. And 14 plus 10 is 24. Inequality sign divided by 4, -4n. All right. Now here I have to divide. Hold on, I'm going to write this again. Divide by -4. Divide by -4. That's an alert. You need to be alerted when you see that. When you divide by negative, that's kind of like a double negative. You have to flip the sign whenever you divide by a negative. Okay? So now that's done. This turns into a 1n. And 24 divided by -4 is going to be -6. And now that would be my final answer. I could rewrite this as n is greater than -6. So now that's in the proper order to help me with my number line. Okay, and I'm going to use my -6 again. And this is an open circle above the -6. Oops, wait, I just did an open circle. It should be an open circle. Okay, and n is greater than, or an n is greater than -6. So greater than goes that way. N is greater than -6, and that's the final answer on that one. All right, let's look at number 3. There's my inequality. There's my variable. So I'm going to start on this side. I'm going to subtract 9, subtract 9. That cancels out or turns into a 0. And this is left, leaves me with negative 8v is greater than negative 16. Okay. Divide by negative, divide by negative, divide by negative, divide by negative. Alert, 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 alert. I need to switch the sign. Okay, phew, switched it. 1v, switch the sign. Negative 16 divided by negative 8 is going to be a positive 2. Okay, so this is now in the correct order, so I can easily draw my number line. I have the v on the left, it helps. And 0, 2, negative 2. It is just I'm going to put an open circle. Okay, and v is less than, so my arrow to go that way. All right, number 4. Here's my inequality symbol. Here's my x. I'm going to start with subtract 7, subtract 7. That turns that into a 0. I'm left with x divided by 9 is greater than or equal to 1, because 8 minus 7 is 1. I have divide by 9, so I'm going to multiply by 9 on both sides of the equation. So x is going to be greater than or equal to 9, because 1 times 9 is 9. So my number line is going to look like this: 0, 9, negative 9. It's going to be a closed circle above the 9. I see this answer here, closed circle. There's my closed circle. X is greater than 9, so x is greater than 9. The unknown value is greater than 9. All right, next page. Number 5. Actually, the same page, but all right, here's my variable, or my inequality. Here's my variable, but I notice I see parentheses, so I have to do negative 3 times k is going to be negative 3k. I have to distribute. Negative 3 times a negative 2 is going to be a positive 6. There's my inequality symbol, negative 18. Now I'm going to subtract 6 on both sides. That turns into a 0. So on this side I'm left with negative 3k, and negative 18 and a negative 6 is going to be negative 24. And then divide by negative, 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 divide by negative. I need to switch the sign. Okay. That's going to be 1k. And 24 divided by negative 24 divided by negative 3 is a positive. Take that back. Positive 6. I'm sorry. What am I thinking? Positive 8. Okay, so now that's my answer. I can write my number line this way if I want to. I can look at it as 8 and negative 8. I just have to know where the k is. And I can look at it going backwards. But I'm going to put an open circle above the 8. K is greater than 8, or I could write it like this. I could flip it around. K is greater than 8, which means it goes that way. Okay, a couple more, halfway through. Here's my variable. Add 8, turns into 0. Negative 3b is less than or greater than 33. Now divide by negative, 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 change the sign. Okay. 1b equals a negative 11. B is less than negative 11, so I could write B is less than negative 11. Draw my number line. 0, negative 11, 11. Open circle above the negative 11. B is less than negative 11, or B is less than negative 11, so less than goes this way. Okay, let's go to number 7. I'm going to start on this side. Subtract 8, turns to 0. Negative 2r is less than or equal to 24. No, 28. Okay, divide by negative, 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 switch a sign. 1r negative 14. So r, I'd like to read it going this way now. R is smaller or less than to and equal to, so r is less than or equal to negative 14. So 0, 14, negative 14, close circle because it's less than or equal to, and r is less than that, so the arrow would go that way. Equal sign variable, add 7, turns into 0, and divided by 9, there's my symbol, and this is going to be a negative 1 if I did this. Okay, n divided by 9, the opposite is times 9. The symbol stays the same. N is less than or equal to negative 9 if I looked at it going this way. If I want to if you rewrite it, n is less than or equal to negative 9. This is flipping it here. This is one of the trickiest parts. You just got to be really careful with it when you make your number lines. Okay, there's my 9 and my negative 9. This is going to be a closed circle above the negative 9. And n is smaller than, so it will go that way. Oh, there's the bell. See if I can get these done before class begins. All right, I think I can. Here we go. There's that. Subtract 10, 0, x divided by 3, and that's going to be a negative 5. Times 3, that cancels out, x, and that would be a negative 15. So that would be correct. And I want to flip it so x is less than negative 15, less than or equal to negative 15. Okay, so now here's my number line, 0, 15, negative 15. Close circle above the negative 15. And x is less than that, so my arrow would go that way. And the last one, there we go. I'll start with subtract 2 on both sides. That turns into 0. This turns into a 1. And n divided by 10. Times 10, that cancels out, n and 10. Now I could rewrite it, if I'm going to write it back the other way, I'd write n is less than 10. So my number line will look like 10, negative 10. It's going to have an open circle above the 10, and n is less than, so my arrow will go that way. So I think that's it. Finished. Done. Okay. This is how I solve these. They're not how everybody solves these problems. This is how I do it. There are definitely many other ways to solve these kind of problems. It's the way we've been working on it. Okay, good luck. Bye.